a substitute for a better known cheese or a better known brand of olive oil or whatever it is that they're saying, because it just sounds like that these people are sort of bragging or showing off, writing these things to sort of look like they're better than you are.
And it's understandable because, as I say, restaurant cooking is, a lot of it has to do with showmanship, entertainment, something you've never tried, but that isn't home cooking. I think one of the very important things is to have alternatives. So that if you say a certain kind of cheese that may be made in your area, have a substitute. And the other thing, in arriving at that substitute, encouraging people to taste and to say to themselves, what does this need? So if you have recommended something that is too exotic and you can't find it, you try a little lemon if it's tartness, or so you explain what that herb would give. And I think that enabling people to develop these books, to work with you, is very important. So I always encourage that kind of substitute. And also shopping information. You can get so much online now today, but it's expensive. It's as though it weren't fashionable to talk about it as being too expensive, but I think things are going to change.
What about, talking about Edna Lewis, food books or cookbooks? Yeah, food books or cookbooks that are great bedtime reading, that really focus more on the narrative as opposed to the recipe. It seems like in the last few years there have been a lot of them that maybe have hardly any recipes, and they're mostly it's just about writing about food. And A, do any of those books, do they really sell? And B, are there some that you really like?
Well, I think it's a very good thing, because I've had people say to me about my little food memoir that I kind of inspired them to want to cook again, and particularly people living alone. And I think that these books that arouse your appetite as you read them and experience with the author some of the things that they appreciate. Reading M.F.K. Fisher, she doesn't give particular recipes, but you can't wait to gather those peas and bring together your family and just all sit around and shell them and pop them into boiling water for a minute. And, it just arouses. So I think that they are a huge help. And I also think it's a sign of our sophistication about food, that we're treating it as you were saying, as an art, not as a drudgery. And so I think they serve a tremendously good purpose. I'm doing a book with Jason Epstein, who was somebody who was very well known in publishing because he was a great editor and an innovator. And he's almost my age, and he's cooked all his life and loves it. But he doesn't want to give recipes as hard and fast formulas. So he refuses to isolate the ingredients and isolate the recipe. It's all part of a conversation and storytelling. He's telling you about going out to Long Island and the oysters, and all of a sudden he's telling you how to make oysters Rockefeller or something like that. And I think that's charming, because that's the kind of cook he is. And for some people, they would never cook from him, but at least he's aroused that appetite, and I think that's half the battle. What sells is, it's always a mystery. Cooking, publishing is not a business that.
But I just, since that, I just wondered if there were other books like that that have been really successful.
think that, you know, the more exposure the author has, that kind of thing. Something, word of mouth catches on. But you can't pinpoint it, and the truth is that publishing is not really a business, it's sort of an application. But we're owned by big business, and we have to project into the future and say which book is going to sell this many copies. It's all nonsense.
Are some of the publishers now integrating the internet with their publishing, and are other words, releasing maybe 3 chapters or something like that online to entice them, like the artists, the musicians are doing with their songs. They're getting new listeners by releasing their things online to attract those younger audiences.
You're talking about promoting the author online and part of the book, and